So we're asked to graph this equation, x squared plus y squared minus 4x plus 2y plus 1 equals to 0. Now, it looks like a very long equation, but you know what? We can totally figure this out. But before we can figure it out, we actually need to manipulate this equation. And since this whole section is on circles, this is going to be an equation of a circle. I just need to convince you that this represents an equation of a circle. And from there, we can figure out the center and we can find the radius. Now, before we do that, I need you to learn how to complete the square. So step 1, we separate the x and y terms and get all the constants to one side. When I take a look at this, I notice I have an x squared term and a minus 4x term. So I'm going to separate these two by putting it into the same set of parentheses, x squared minus 4x. Then I notice I have some y terms, so I'm going to get those together, y squared plus 2y. And once again, we need to put the constants on one side. In particular, we're going to put it onto the other side. So we're going to subtract by 1. And then I'm just going to add these two parentheses together. Step 2, we're going to divide the coefficients of x and y by 2 and then square it. So I notice I have a coefficient here of negative 4. I'm going to divide by 2 and then square it. So that gives us negative 2. And square all of that, so that gives us positive 4. So if you notice, what we're going to do actually is I'm just going to plug this into this last spot inside this set of parentheses, so plus 4. But notice, it looks like I just threw in this plus 4 on the left side of this equation. So I've basically changed this equation already. I mean, before we just moved things around so nothing changed. But now I've changed the value of this equation. And just like in equations, whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other. Since I've added 4 on the left side, that means I have to add 4 on the right side as well to keep my equation balanced. Okay, so that was for the x term. Now I'm going to take the middle coefficient, the coefficient of y. So we get 2. We're going to divide this by 2 and then square it. So that gives me 1 squared, which equals 1. So I'm going to add 1 here. So once again, because I've added 1 to this side of the equation, I should add 1 on the other side as well to keep my equation balanced. Step 3, we're going to factor and simplify. So on the left, I notice that this is actually the same thing as x times x. Sorry, to get x squared, I get x times x. And then to get 2, multiply by 2, but two numbers that add up to be negative 4. Sorry, let me go back again. Okay, we need to factor. So I'm going to factor this polynomial. I notice that it's a quadratic, so I'm going to use two sets of parentheses. So to get x squared, I need an x times an x. I need two numbers now that multiply to be 4, but add up to be negative 4. So that would be negative 2 and negative 2. Similarly here, we're going to factor this. So I see a y squared, so that means we have a y times y. I need two numbers to multiply to be 1, but add up to be 2, so that'll be 1 and 1. And both of them are positive. So what does that mean? So that means the blue set of parentheses is really x minus 2 squared. The orange set of parentheses, I can factor that as y plus 1 squared. And then just writing everything else out, the plus sign in between. And the right side, I notice I'm supposed to simplify that. So negative 1 plus 4 plus 1. Well, the negative 1 and the plus 1 cancel out, so we just get 4. So therefore, if you notice, this is exactly like the equation of a circle, where my center is at positive 2, comma negative 1. Remember, it's the opposite sign. and my radius is the square root of this number, so my radius is 2. And since we're asked to graph this thing, let's graph it now. I go to the right 2, down 1. I go up 2 because I have a radius of 2, down 2, to the left 2, to the right 2. So here are some points to help me sketch my circle. And there we go.